The Forza Racing Championship 2018 season is about to begin. Welcome, everyone, to a special presentation, our overview of the 2018 season. My name is Brian Ekberg, and I'm the community manager for Forza, joined by Elliott Lyons from Turn 10. Elliott, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great to have you here. And, of course, a face and a name that a lot of folks watching right now probably recognize, Evan Thorogood, better known by your gamer tag probably as Raceboy77. How are you, Evan?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's wonderful to have you guys here. Listen, guys, we are going to be covering a ton of information here today because we're covering all of the 2018 Forza Racing Championship details. We're going to be talking about tournament structure, ranking system, tiers. We're going to be talking about the Pre-season Invitational. We have a ton of conversation to get into, and we've got the right people here to do it. Listen, what we also want to take some questions from you in chat at the end of the show if we've got time. So if you're in chat, you want to know something maybe we haven't covered on the show, you want a question answered, put it in chat. We've got people watching chat right now. They're going to be writing down some of the best questions that we'll try to get to at the end of the show. Before we get there, let's announce a whole bunch of stuff. We've got it's fantastic. So let's start with what is the Forza Racing Championship. If you're new to this, if you're new to Forza, if you're new to the ForzaRC, this is our esports program. This is racing with money on the line. This is real world stakes in the Forza Racing Championship. We've done previous seasons in the past. We're here for the 2018 season. We have 2 series this week. We're going to this year. We're going to get to all of those details in just a bit. Now, you might remember, if you're a longtime Forza fan, Elliott, in previous seasons of the Forza Racing Championship, we competed in Forza Motorsport 6. Here we are in 2018. It's time for Forza Motorsport 7. And what that means from a games play standpoint, which you're heavily involved with, is we have a constantly updated, constantly evolving game, really devoted to features that are supporting the Forza Racing Championship.
Yes, just like with 6, Forza Motorsport 7, fully committed to esports and to our broadcasts, or into our competitions. We bring in all our features back. You saw spectating come in our updates. We have the ticker, the player telemetry. We're announcing ahead of time now in the April-May timeframe that the race telemetry will come in. We got some really cool stuff happening in the map. Motorsport 7 is the best place to race and do esports on, and we're just showing that commitment with all of our updates.
When you say race telemetry, what are we talking about?
Race telemetry, we'll show you what's going on the track, right? We're going to have
mini-map.
Yeah, mini-map, cars going around. You can actually zoom in and out the map this time, which is cool. So just like we're taking some stuff from 6, made it even better for both the competition and the broadcast. And this is just another piece of the puzzle to showing you the best of the competition.
There you go. A lot of evolution still to come for Forza Motorsport 7, both in terms of the general game and the features that are really focused on supporting the Forza Racing Championship itself. Evan, a lot of folks may know you as a streamer. They know you as a competitor in the Forza Racing Championship, but you sort of transitioned to working with Gfinity, our partner, helping us run the tournaments themselves. Talk a little bit about your role with Gfinity and how you're helping the Forza Racing Championship.
Yeah, so basically I help with tournament structure, all sorts of format stuff, cars and track combinations, you name it. I bring game expertise, and that's where I specialize in. And
it starts with tournament structure. 2018 looks unlike any season before it in terms of how we're organizing our events, how people are going to be progressing week to week as they compete. Let's start with that overview of tournament structure you see here on the screen here. This is a look at Series 1, leading to the playoffs in Seattle. Series 2, we'll talk a little bit more about those dates, but you can see a definite sort of pattern from it's like a 2-week chunk of competition that has the same events throughout each competitive series, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And at the start of the 2-week chunk, we start with the qualification rivals. So the qualification rivals will determine your performance level for that week.
Okay.
So we're going to start with that, and that will be global. So
and for those who don't know, rivals, strictly hot lapping, right?
Exactly. It's strictly hot lapping, and it will be global. So you'll be scored against everybody in the world.
Okay.
So from there, we're going to move into ghost races, which will, as soon as we move into races, it will be split into regions.
Okay.
So ghost races will take place on Saturdays, as you guys can see, and they will be ghost racing with other competitors on track, which is really exciting. A lot of people have been asking for that, and it'll let us be able to have a lot more participants, which is really awesome.
Again, let's break it down for folks who don't know. What is ghost racing?
Ghost racing is no collisions racing.
Okay.
So you're on track with everybody. You can see everybody, but there isn't collisions.
Okay. So we start with rivals, then we have our ghost racing. What's the next step after that?
The next step, it funnels into the Sunday heats.
Okay.
So Sunday heats, basically, as we said before, everything is split into regions, so it's the top 24 from each region. So collisions will turn on, And Sunday heats will be 3 races, and everybody will go against each other, which will funnel eventually into the Wednesday showdown.
And the Wednesday showdown are sort of like semifinals throughout every 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So the Wednesday showdown is the last race of the week. So it's the big event, and ultimately the NA, North America, and EMEA regions will be broadcasted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the broadcast structure. Yep. What do those Wednesday showdown races look like from a competitive standpoint? How many people are involved? I assume cars and tracks differ each Wednesday.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm. It'll differ and it'll change constantly. So there will be 12 people from each region. So that's basically the last race of the week.
Okay.
And then it'll move into, we'll move to booster rivals, as you can see. And booster rivals, basically, you can't, we'll take the best result from booster rivals or races. Mm-hmm. You'll always score more points in races, but booster rivals, if you don't do too well in the races, or if you can't make the races, they're kind of a mechanism to make you not drop too far back from the rest of the field.
So it's a mechanism to score some points. You're not going to be scoring as many points as, say, the Wednesday showdown, correct?
Yes.
It's just one more chance to get some more points and move your way up the leaderboard.
Exactly.
Great. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the actual broadcast schedule in a bit, because all of those Wednesday showdowns are going to be broadcast here on watch.forzarc.com. You won't want to miss that. But around this huge tournament structure where we have all of these different types of events that people sort of flow through during a competitive segment, we have a ranking system for the first time as well.
Yes, we do.
Tell us about that.
We're super excited to have a global ranking system finally. We'll be able to see who's the best in the world at Forza. So all these ways, all these are ways to earn points, mm-hmm. which will accumulate to your Forza points, which will be shown and basically determine your position on the global leaderboard.
So Forza points you earn, Elliott, from every one of these different types of events. Obviously, you want to score as many as you can.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, no matter what you do, you're earning points, mm-hmm. yep. right? And then at some point, I think it's 2 weeks, right? We're going to tabulate those points, put your points in your bank account, yep. and you get ranked against everybody in the world. We'll now know who's #1 for reals.
And you mentioned, I want to be clear on this, how often will the leaderboards be updated?
So every 2 weeks after the booster rivals, you'll be able to see the updated leaderboards.
Okay, and so yeah, after the Saturday race, don't be going straight to the website and looking for your ranking. We've got to get through the entire sequence in order to update your Forza points.
Yes, correct.
I know a lot of people are going to be excited about that, and I can think of some competitive people right now that are sort of chomping at the bit, ready to get on that leaderboard.
Already figuring out their strategies.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yes. Okay, so we should point out, we've talked about a little bit about structure. We've talked about the ranking system and tiers. I want to point everyone to the ForzaRC.com website. That is going to be updated today with all of this information on the tournament structure, the ranking system, and of course, the rules and regulations. So all of the details that maybe we don't have enough time to discuss here are at ForzaRacingChampionship.com. Of course, you can also register there. If you've not registered for the Forza Racing Championship, get in there, get registered, get ready to compete, and you'll have all of the information that you need to take advantage of that. Elliott, we've talked about rules, we've talked about tournament structure. There is some sort of housekeeping from a competitive standpoint that we need to get through, particularly in terms of the platforms that people will be competing on.
Yeah, sure. So much like our previous events, for the 2018 Forza RC season, we'll be competing exclusively on Xbox. We just need to make sure that we keep competitive integrity in place while we work on getting PC there. The good news is there's other events as well that people can compete in. Tora's got some stuff coming up. We'll probably have some other things that aren't Forza RC related coming up. But yeah, so officially when we're on site and we're doing events like the Invitational and some of these other things, that will be exclusively on Xbox.
And one of those that Elliott didn't mention was the Forza RC ladder competition that will have more details. The new bounty hunter that I've been talking about on Forza Friday. We'll be talking about that at the end of the show, so stick around for that, of course. So we know we'll be competing on Xbox. We've seen the tournament structure. Let's go back and check out the broadcast schedule, because we've got a ton of broadcasts this season. You guys are going to be able to watch each series, from start to finish. We talked about the different types of competitive events that we have, but really they sort of culminate with these Wednesday showdowns that start on April 11th in Series 1, and they'll be every 2 weeks after that. People will be qualifying, racing their best. We'll have 2 broadcasts per day, one for North America, one for EMEA. You can watch all of that at watch.forzarc.com, and each of those leads to the playoffs for each series. So the first one is in Seattle in our backyard. That's awesome.
Yes.
And once we get to Series 2, which kicks off in July, we'll be heading down south to Mexico City.
They're starting to go global. That's great.
I love that. It's fantastic. And then, of course, the World Finals in October. All of that leading up. The winners from those playoffs will be heading to London for the Forza Racing Championship World Championship in October. Stay tuned for more details about all of that. And, of course, you can see all of those detailed, as I mentioned earlier, on ForzaRC.com. All right, so we've talked about the competition schedule. We've talked about the broadcast schedule. We've talked about the website. All of those things come beginning in April. Well, the website's available now, but the competitive schedule begins in April. But we've got something even before that. We've got the Pre-season Invitational, which begins in just 10 days. March 24th, the Pre-season Invitational. I can't wait for this. We have a brand new studio that we're going to be broadcasting from in downtown Seattle. It's going to be fantastic. We have some fantastic drivers coming. Right after this, we're going to show you guys the Invitational trailer. Right after this, we're going to dive into the Invitational, all the details of the 2018 Pre-season Invitational right after this. March 24th, beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific, is the Pre-season Invitational. I cannot wait. These guys are coming to Seattle, a lot of them for the very first time from all over the world, and are going to be competing in our backyard. It's fantastic. Before we get to the driver lineup, which I know everybody's really excited about, we saw some of the names there, some very familiar names. Let's talk about how this Invitational is going to work. We had an Invitational in New York City last year. Evan, this is completely different from that. We're really shaking it up this time.
Yeah, exactly. So we have an individual competition like we normally do. But for the first time, we have team competition. So we have 4 teams that we invited, and they're going to be competing against each other.
And I want to dive into the team competition in just a bit. Let's talk about some of the individuals. For Forza Racing Championship fans, a lot of these guys they know. I know we know all of these guys. These are big-time names. We have Roadrunner, we've got Lage, we've got Box. All of these guys that the community already knows. They're going to really see them in action here in the Forza Invitational. Elliott, these guys are coming from all over the world.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Some of them have competed before with us. Some of them, it's new. Again, this is interesting for them, I think, and how they approach their strategy, because I have to feel that a lot of these guys' egos are boosted because they've been invited.
Right?
They didn't have to qualify. We're saying, hey, you know what? You're really good. Come play with us. So that always changes the whole landscape anyways.
And I love the Invitational because it gives us a chance to put these guys in strange racing situations. You know, obviously, like you said, they're going to be perfectly comfortable in an individual race, every man for himself. But team play is something new for Forza Racing Championship. It's sort of an experiment. We're doing something different for the Invitational, which is the right place to do it. But tell us about team competition. How's it going to work?
So there will be 4 teams, and each team is 3 drivers. So what's going to happen is they'll have 3 cars available. No driver on the same team can drive the same car. So there will be 3 different cars being raced per team. So it'll be totally different. We'll play off their strengths. So there's going to be a lot of strategy going on. So for example, a car might launch a little bit better, but a car might have better top end. So you're going to want to play to your team's strengths and figure out who's going to drive what car, because no team can have the same car.
Well, you saw the graphic there that showed off the teams that are coming. We've got JSR, we've got TX3, F4H, and AMS. I mean, really well-known teams within the Forza community. And look at this lineup of drivers. I mean, we've got Lightning is with TX3. We've got Rossi, Commando, Craviator, and JSR. I mean, all of these, Force One, Venom, Racers, Roadrunner, our Le Mans winner is going to be competing in team play as well. This isn't like a second string guys. These are some of the best in the world that are going to be competing in team play.
It's really interesting because this is something we can only do in Forza. You look at real racing or racing generally as you know it. Cars on the same team are the same. So you might have 2 drivers and they're driving the exact same car, but here they're driving different cars and they'll play to their strengths. So it's really interesting, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
I should also point out that these guys are going to be qualifying in the mornings. And so it's the morning of when they're going to have to be making these strategic decisions of what car, who's in which car, right?
You know, I think we just told them the cars and the track combinations.
Yeah, just recently.
So they're scrambling right now, trying to figure out their strategy, who's strong in what cars. And it's probably going to change right before qualifying too, all the way up to the last minute. to figure out how they're going to have the best chance to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting. Well, we haven't mentioned Cars and Tracks yet, so let's talk about that. We are sponsored by IMSA this year, so a lot of the cars, all of the tracks are going to be familiar to IMSA fans. Tell us about that, Evan.
Yeah, exactly. So we're using IMSA cars and road versions of the same cars, and we're also using past IMSA cars or cars represented by IMSA manufacturers, along with IMSA tracks. So we're super excited to have IMSA on board, and it's going to be really interesting. We're going to use a bunch of race cars, a bunch of road cars, all sorts of mix.
So I'm trying to get in the mindset of these guys as they're learning the cars and tracks, they're learning these team rules. From your point of view, Evan, if this was you, how would you get inside these guys' head? Where do you think they are right now, mindset-wise, in trying to figure out what they need to do for the Invitational?
I think they're scrambling and trying to make up strategies because they have no idea. This is totally different, right? One of their first driver might be in a BMW M6, the next driver in an R8, and then the next driver in a Porsche RSR. And it's going to be totally different depending on where they start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Team tactics,
yeah.
Like what they're going to do. It's going to be really fun to watch.
I'm really excited. There's going to be a lot of strategy involved.
As if team play wasn't enough, we're actually letting the viewership vote on the kinds of conditions that players will be driving in the Invitational as well. So you as a viewer, when you're watching on watch.forzarc.com, will have some direct influence into what these guys are driving on, the kind of conditions they're driving on. Tell us about the sort of in-stream voting that we've got.
Yeah, so the in-stream voting that we have is weather. One of them is weather and then combinations. So for example, in the first race in the individual competition, you'll be able to vote if you want it to be dry or if you want it to be raining, which is really exciting. I want to see how they handle, the spur of the moment. Oh, chat voted for heavy rain. What are we going to do now, right? Yeah. And then we're also going to let them vote on combinations. So car and track combinations together. Which one do you want to see?
Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean,
I wonder how you practice something
I don't know
like
how
that.
you practice that because exactly. You have to practice everything times 2 or whatever, in those combinations. And then right before, like Evan said, you mentally as a competitor have to get there. And then all of a sudden we're going to say, no, it's raining, sorry. Yeah. And, it just creates this whole new different situation.
Or you expected a combination to come up at a certain point, so you're prepared for that, and then all of a sudden it's not. It's totally different, right?
Well, these guys are the best in the world, so we're throwing some monkey wrenches in the plans here, and we're going to see how they react. It's part of the fun of the Invitational. We should point out the Invitational is purely a demo. It is it's just for fun. There's no broader implication to the ForzaRC. These guys aren't getting a head start on the competition. It's strictly a time for these guys to come together and show us what they got. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You saw the graphic there. Can we put that graphic back up? Evan, you mentioned the tracks that we talked about there. We didn't mention them in particular. We mentioned these are all IMSA tracks, but it's Road America, it's Sebring, it's where these guys
big ones.
Participate in real life.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the real IMSA tracks that we have. And they're going to be racing on them, and a lot of huge tracks. Sebring 12 hours coming up. We're going to be using that track, and it's really exciting. And no driver on the team competition will be using the same car, so it's just going to be awesome to watch.
And I believe we also have a car graphic as well, so maybe we can put that one up and talk a little bit about those cars as well, because there we go. There's the GTLM, the Ford GTLM, Mazda. We got the Lamborghini Veneno. You know,
Lamborghini is represented.
Just a spectrum of cars here that people are going to be racing.
Exactly, and those individual cars will be really exciting to watch, but we don't know which ones are going to be picked. It'll be up to the chat to decide.
That's fantastic. So you guys once again will have some influence into the Forza Racing Championship Pre-season Invitational. Can't wait for all of that. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for the Invitational. Thank you, of course, to IMSA, who is our title sponsor. We also have some other folks, including Bubba Burger, Playseat, Plantronics, yes, thank you. They're on the screen there. And, of course, Michelin are all helping support the Forza Racing Championship Pre-season Invitational. So thank you to all of you. Listen, we are just 10 days away from the action of the Pre-season Invitational. You can watch it beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific on March 24th. Go to watch.forzarc.com to catch all of the action. And, of course, we want you to connect. We want to hear what you think about what's going on with the entirety of the Forza Racing Championship throughout 2018. And you can do that by watching us. And, of course, you can connect with us on Twitter, @ForzaRC, on Facebook, ForzaRC as well, and let us know what you're thinking, how you like the Invitational, what kind of ideas you have for the future for the Forza Racing Championship. We want to hear what you think as well.
I want to know who they think is going to win.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win? We have some contenders. Of course, we've got big names. We've got Lage. We've got Roadrunner. We've got Lightning. Obviously, 3 favorites there. But with this format shakeup, anything can happen.
And what team, right? What team is going to win? We have 4 of the best Forza teams around.
Yep.
What I think is interesting, right, is we have individual competitions, right? We still have that starting. And then we have team competitions. Some of our individual competitors are going into teams.
Yep.
So whatever happens in that morning could affect how they're mentally competing in the afternoon.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And they have a lot to practice.
They have a lot to practice. These guys' time is going to be filled, and then not a week later, competition begins. So we are really getting into full gear for the Forza Racing Championship. Listen, we are going. If you have questions about the Forza Racing Championship, you can head to the forums at forums.forzamotorsport.net. Let us know what you have in mind. We don't have. Turns out we're not going to have time for questions today, unfortunately, but we will. We want to hear what you have to say. Want to know what you think about the Forza RC. So go to the forums, hit us up on Twitter and Facebook. Let us know what you think. One other thing that I wanted to mention, this is interesting. I mentioned at the top of the show, the Forza RC Ladder Challenge. Now, you guys might know this as the Bounty Hunter events. Those who play Forza 7 know that we've been putting out a Bounty Hunter Challenge ever since the game launched in October. We had Joseph Newgarden. We had John Schomer, our man, took part. Alan Hartman took part in a couple. Elliott did one as well. We've got Elliott back for another one because with the Forza RC Ladder Challenge, it's not just one bounty you're chasing, it's 5.
It's 5.
So 5 people at turn 10. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Race Boy. He'll do another one down the line.
Maybe someday.
Maybe you're a little rusty now.
I'm very slow now.
Very slow. I'm sure you're very slow.
Maybe he's a second off pace.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, you're going to have 5 targets in this event, and there's going to be a reward for every person you beat.
That's great. Like you said, we've done these events before. They're our most popular events for rivals, probably. You get to chase us. But yes, having 5 people in it at different skill levels, there's going to be a prize for everybody. It's going to be awesome to watch.
It's going to be awesome to watch, and you're going to be able to watch Triton and all the rest set their initial times in this week's edition of Forza Friday, which starts at 3 p.m. Pacific this coming Friday. John Knowles, Elliott Lyons, Garrett Huxtable, Jennifer Lane, and yours truly will all be setting our initial times in this event live on Forza Friday, so don't miss that. Guys, I can't wait to get started. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, it's so exciting.
The season starts with the Pre-season Invitational, again, on March 24th, beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific. Go to watch.forzarc.com to watch the Invitational and then get ready for competition. Make sure you're registered. Go to forzarc.com. Get registered. Get ready for all the competition. And here's to a fantastic 2018 season of the Forza Racing Championship. We'll see you on March 24th at 10 a.m.